The opening scene of Terrifier 3 acts as almost a thesis statement for the rest of the film. It features Art the Clown butchering 4 people and is 10 minutes long. It's hyper-violent, it's completely gratuitous, and it has some fun uses of Christmas music. And yet, almost everything is completely wrong.
You survived the most famous serial killer since Jack the Ripper. The 5-year anniversary is coming up.
For one, these characters that Art the Clown is killing are complete nobodies. They aren't mentioned later, and we have zero investment in them whatsoever. Not that you have to like the people that Art is killing or be invested in them in some way, but I think they at least should serve a purpose to the film at large. A scene like this is the type of scene that you put at the start of your movie so that your main character, Sienna in this case, sees it on the news as a potential Art the Clown killing so that she might be thinking that he's gonna come back to life. And yet this scene is never mentioned again. These people are never mentioned again. In fact, this movie does have the scene where Sienna sees something on the news, leading her to think that Art the Clown is back from the dead, but it's a bombing at the mall.
Who's this Santa?
Of course, there's films out there like A Serious Man that puts a little short film at the start that has almost nothing to do with the film itself. Breaking that rule that I just said Terrifier 3 is bad for breaking. Instead, in Terrifier 3, it's like, hey, we had some cool gore effects, and that's what we wanted to put in the scene. More body count. Okay. Beyond Christmas music and decorations, there's a real lack of holiday cheer until the bitter end. Again, the opening scene plays with something interesting, with Art the Clown dressed as Santa going and killing people in this house, but instead of having him with a giant candy cane or some holiday-themed thing, he's just going room to room with an axe. He's not dropping down the chimney, he's not giving out presents, he's not doing any of that, which feels like a complete wasted opportunity. Now, later in the film, he does give out presents that happen to be bombs, and uses people's heads as a star for a Christmas tree, which is kind of fun, but beyond that, Art never really does too much in the holiday spirit. I wanted to see him with, again, giant candy canes, or gingerbread man, or something like Krampus was doing with holiday-themed things. Instead, he just kind of goes between scenes with like a Glock, or a big axe, or a thing that freezes people, and then he whacks them with a hammer. It's like, okay, it's not holiday at all. It just happens to take place on a holiday. Which is another thing that's very odd about this movie. Most of it isn't played for laughs. Just like that opening scene, there's Art the Clown going room to room, killing people with an axe with this intense music and these overbearing sound effects. And then at the end, it pipes in this Christmas music and shows him eating cookies meant for Santa's elves and cleaning dirty plates. Clearly, it's trying to be funny in those moments, but I think you could have made the scene as a whole funnier, or change the tone entirely by just sliding that Christmas music over a little bit. Instead of having it play at the end of the scene, have it start playing when the mother of this family wakes up to see her husband being killed by an axe. As soon as she wakes up and starts screaming, boom, play that Christmas music, and suddenly there's something more funny or edgy about it. Instead, it's just like, oh, it's violent, it's violent, it's violent, and now it's funny. Of course, the violence is on par, if not greater and better than in Terrifier 2, so if you like that, I expect you'd like it here too. But much like Terrifier 2, my problem with the film's violence remains largely the same. Maybe it's a personal thing, but I just think after 9 minutes of violence, it starts to wear down a little bit. Like the intensity, the queasy feeling in your stomach just goes away at a certain point because it's just too much. And again, it never really plays it for laughs aside from a few moments, which are very awkward in between moments that aren't played for laughs.
I'm wearing the outfit, right? So it's just like Elvis. He gets the full Santa experience if he wants it, all right?
The editing and the storytelling are especially tragic about this movie. There's a lot to like about it that we've discussed a little bit and that we can discuss more later, but my God, there's so much wasted potential here. You obviously don't need to follow a basic story structure in this movie or really any movie, but I think this is one that could have benefited from it. There's so many great films that don't follow basic story structure, but by the end of this one, it kind of is already, so it's very weird that some parts of it don't. I mean, the story here is almost interesting. Sienna, who was our lead in Terrifier 2, is back dealing with the trauma of Terrifier 2, which is an interesting route to take. She's seeing things that aren't there, and her friends are haunting her, saying that she needs to pass the rice and causing her mental breakdowns, which again is an interesting idea and concept, yet we don't see Sienna, we don't get introduced to her until 20 minutes in, which is a huge problem. For no good reason, the film starts with that one pointless four-way killing and then immediately follows it up with more Art the Clown. It goes into his lore, how he survived the second one, how he regenerates, etc. for another 5 to 10 minutes before we get to Sienna. The idea of Art the Clown coming back to life and regenerating and stuff, all that lore is interesting and I like it, but the fact that it's jammed in between Sienna and another Art the Clown scene makes that first 20 minutes pretty hard to get through because I just don't care. I don't care about Art the Clown as much as I care about Sienna, but we just don't see her. Yes, watching Art the Clown kill people is fun, but at a certain point, you just have to kill your darlings and cut the fat.
Why would he come back here? Even if he was alive, which he isn't. Wouldn't you want to get as far away from here as possible, as far away from you?
Literally, if you just cut that opening 10 minutes, nothing in the movie would change at all. And you can set the tone up by having that scene of Art the Clown regenerating and reviving himself after dying at the end of Terrifier 2 as the opening. Have it open with 5 years prior. And it's Art the Clown regenerating himself and getting that demon lady and whatever's happening there and going and then like sitting in his chair and being weird for 5 years. That's a solid opening, and it would set the tone just like the first scene does, and it forwards the story, plus it saves you 10 minutes. Basic story structure tells us that about 15 minutes or so is spent with the characters being set up. The Art the Clown setup, the Demon Lady setup, Sienna setup, her brother setup, Gabby setup, that family, all that set up in 15 minutes, that's fine. That's great even. And then you have a catalyst, which would be the mall. She sees Art the Clown at the mall, and that's our catalyst. Oh, maybe he's back, I don't know. And then the break into 2 is the bombing on the news. Okay, he's definitely back. What are we going to do about it? But instead of that coming 30 minutes into the movie or 25 minutes into the movie, it comes over an hour into the movie, where any investment is completely gone. What's frustrating is that the beats of a proper script are here, like I'm saying, but they're just so garbled and spread out that it makes it difficult to enjoy and sometimes even follow at times. I know it would be very difficult to cut things you've worked very hard on and spent a lot of money on, like the gore effects that look really, really good, but at a certain point, you just need to cut the fat. Scenes like Art the Clown killing Clint Howard and his friends in a bar is good because it furthers the story. How? Because he kills Santa Claus and steals his costume that he wears throughout the rest of the film. That's furthering the story while also having fun with your gore effects. That works. At this point, I can already know what you're saying. Art the Clown is this psycho killer who's just gonna kill people to kill people. And you're totally right. Art the Clown is that kind of psychotic killer with nothing behind the eyes, with no motive, just gonna kill people for fun. And that is well communicated in many scenes. But the juggling act of a script, of writing a movie, is communicating that fact while also furthering the story, which it does very well at times. The bombing at the mall perfectly illustrates that fact. He's exploiting and killing children. That's a horrific thing that he does that shows, oh, this guy is a sadistic killer that doesn't care who he kills, he's just killing for fun. And it furthers the plot by having Sienna see it on the news so that she can react to it and say, okay, we need to take precautions of this. That's how you do it. It's pretty much perfect, except that it takes place too late in the movie to be truly impactful. Again, restructuring this film through editing could have easily placed that mall bombing 20, 30 minutes into the movie and been perfectly structured with the rest of the film, because the last 30 minutes is pretty on the rails as far as a script structure goes. So why isn't the first 30 minutes like that too?